We'll wrap up this evening with a nice and hopefully engaging conversation with Mihai and Alex, the founders of CleverTaxi. Come on over, guys. Until we get the second microphone here, wanted to do a short intro about our panel. As we were saying in the fireside chat with Andrei Pidish, CleverTaxi started in 2011 during Startup Weekend hackathon.
Yeah,
right?
December 2010, actually.
Yeah, so you are like the poster boys of Startup Weekend, I guess, right now, right? Do you know many other success stories from Startup Weekend that have actually gotten to build a significant business and get an exit?
Well, in Romania, I don't know if exits, but I actually was involved with Startup Weekend after that event because it was so fucking awesome that I said I want to get involved with it. And basically each event there was at least one company that went on and did something, but I don't think there were exits after it.
Luckily enough, I've met Froala at the first ever Startup Weekend in 2010, by the way. So they've started working on their product just after that. Okay, guys. So you started CleverTaxi in 2011, and you sold the business in 2017. I think it was during the autumn. And you
1st of July, I think.
Yeah, and you mentioned an amount of more than 10 million in exit value. Can we have now a clear number?
No.
No.
But to be specific, we never said above 10 million. We said an 8-figure number in euros.
An 8-figure number in euros.
And not
so
starting with 0.
Okay. Is it 15?
Maybe.
Okay. So 17, something like that. So how was the journey of CleverTaxi? Can we go through that a little bit? Started in 2011. What were the first problems that you encountered? What was the vision of the company back then?
Yeah, I always say that the vision back then was to become a global company and then buy Facebook and put Google ads on it. That was the joke we had back then. Well, we started off in a Startup Weekend, and the initial concept was that you should be able to hail a taxi with a button. And initially, yeah, we said we want to go global. So we actually built the product in such a way that it was useful anywhere you went in the world. And the first, I think, 6 months or so, or 8 months, we were validating our concept by we had a database of taxi companies throughout the world, and we were actually having a newsletter, and we were faking it until we made it, and we were getting 10x results compared to the industry on the newsletter, so click-throughs, actions, etc., etc. So
it was 25% CTR.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's when we said, yeah, probably somebody wants this. And yeah, we started building the product very, very scrappily. I was coding, Alex of course was coding, and at some point Andrei joined the bandwagon, and he also coded. So.
Okay, so how did that went? So you launched in 2012?
So yeah, in 2011 we started building the actual product. The initial concept was we were building the aggregator, but we also had the white label option. It's a marketplace, so then you need to solve one of the two ends of the marketplace, supply and demand. And supply we were solving with this white label solution. And in 2012 we launched, we relaunched actually, because we already had our app. We relaunched our brand, and I think in the same week 4 or 5 other apps launched the same. Very fucking
all in Romania.
In Romania.
It was very crowded, yeah.
So it was Start Taxi and what else?
Taxi Q, Taxi Beat, which we
Taxi Beat from Greece.
Yeah, which we re-encountered inside My Taxi in the group because they got acquired as well a while ago.
Okay. How was the initial phase of the business? Like, what were the challenges that you had? I think back then it was quite difficult to get taxi companies on board, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, our competitors all had more money than us and more resources, so we decided we had to choose our battles, and we said we just want to have the best service possible, best service availability. So then we focused a lot on getting as much supply as possible, and that was the main thing we were going on. While others were working more on marketing, that's why a lot of people actually think that we were not first on the market, because consumer-wise, we didn't go consumer first, we actually went supply first. And to be honest, the biggest thing that helped in the beginning was, one of the biggest things was our partnership with Orange, which was very deeply rooted in the company.
So you started in Bucharest, and until 2007 you went to how many other cities?
Well, the expansion was in the first 2 or 3 years, and I think 20 cities is what we have right now.
20 cities.
Yeah.
Why not outside Romania? Why did you focus only on Romania?
Well,
Planning to ask you some tough questions, sorry.
We didn't. We always wanted to expand, and we always tried. Actually, before we actually had the product, me and Alex and our girlfriends back then, we were on a road trip, and we went to Italy, I think. And going back, we stopped in Zagreb. And as entrepreneurs are a bit, crazy up in the head, we were in a vacation, but we said, yeah, let's talk to a taxi company here. And we rang up one of the local taxi companies, told them we have this, and they sent a car in 5 minutes, and they had a huge boardroom and all the shareholders and the execs came in there, and this sounds great, we want this, and we were in our shorts. We were basically, it was summer, so we were on vacation, and we said, well, yeah, we don't really have the product; it's still under development. And they got a bit upset, and they said, okay, what do you need to have it working? Well, we need resources, we need programmers. We'll get you then. It was a very, very interesting discussion, but they really wanted the product. So when we came back, we said we should definitely step on the gas, and that's, I think, one of the things that drove us into building this faster. And we tried to expand several times. And we got an investment from Best Jobs, and one of the main goals of it was to expand to other countries, and we tried. And we had a few attempts. We realized that, I think we kind of waited a bit too long. It wasn't impossible by any chance, but it was very capital intensive. And the decision at that point was, let's focus on this country, on Romania. It's a very big market anyway. And, create a great technology and then expand. And by the time we wanted to expand already, we started discussions with MyTaxi. So,
Alex, on the product side, what were the challenges that you had back then when it was like very, very scrappy and you were pretending you have an app which you didn't?
Yeah, so in the beginning there was no app. Actually, it was a taxi directory with phone numbers.
In the beginning there was only God, but
yeah,
that was very early on.
So we had to build a product along with our customers. So that was one of the things that contributed to the success of the product. We had a lot of friends testing the apps, a lot of users interested, and they gave us a lot of feedback. So that was something that we took into account. It was very difficult to build a product with a very small team. We had to bootstrap a lot.
Namely 2 persons.
Yeah, that was in the beginning. Yeah, so that was very difficult. Yeah.
So you start this company. You are like the lowest capitalized company in your segment. Uber comes to Romania, they pour a lot of money into Romania, they acquire a lot of customers. You manage to scale nationally, but you don't manage to go internationally. And at the end of the day, you sell the company, in which I think it's quite a successful exit, at a valuation of 8 figures in dollars, I guess, or euros. Okay, good. So explain to me in very simple, to us in very simple words, given all the challenges that you had, how did you position this deal to MyTaxi to get the exit through?
Well,
I mean, is it market share? Is it engineering? Is it a mix of the two?
It's usually with marketplaces, it's market. So that's you just sell market share. We were the leaders. I mean, we had Uber come in, but still, even when Uber came in, we were still growing 3x a year sometimes. So we still had a very aggressive growth. We still had very good service, and we were the leaders in the market. They, as Andrei was saying earlier as well, they just buy number one. That's as simple as that. And we weren't looking to sell the company per se. We also had the option to get funding to carry on instead of actually make the sale. And we actually, while negotiating, we upped the price. So I think we had more leverage in this negotiation. So it's definitely something that they wanted to sell. And I think by the numbers I know, at least we had, I think, maybe the best or one of the best returns on investment in terms of how much money we had compared to how much we sold it. And we had very good numbers also compared to in terms of because GMV is the main metric in this industry.
GMV is meaning?
And GMV means the total value of tours done in the platform. It's a marketplace, so then it's
gross marketplace value.
Gross merchandise value.
Merchandise value.
Yeah.
So, but it's also the technical side, right? I mean, MyTaxi bought you, and now out of CleverTaxi, there's like, I don't know, kind of a spin-off, which is called CleverTech, and you are developing technology for the bigger MyTaxi group, or how does that work, Alex?
No, right now we still develop everything for the app. Okay. So the whole company, CleverTech, develops only the app, and we don't do work for other group.
I mean, there are synergies in maybe in tech sometimes as well, but the focus for all the group is always in growing the market share that they have locally. That's always the focus. And for example, rebranding. That's not something that is happening now because again, the main focus is growing. Always growing. It's a very aggressive market, so you always need to be on top.
Of course, there are synergies with the MyTaxi app and the whole group. That's normal. We try to have the same tech stack. We try to make the app look like something that's bigger, right? It's MyTaxi, and we try to use the same technologies that they use because they have more experience than us. So we're aligning.
So I have one more question, and then I'm waiting for your questions. If hopefully you have some prepared. When I talked to you after the exit the first time, I realized that the numbers for the local market, for like the taxi market in Romania, are just absolutely huge. I don't know if you have a lot of software as a service applications which are very niche. They target very specific use cases, and they do go internationally. But for this market, this is how much does the taxi market worth in Romania in total? Can you remember that conversation and those numbers?
Well, I mean, first of all, we've all seen there's a shift towards alternative mobility services. And to be fair, when you look at the market, you kind of look at it in just one piece. People use either ride-sharing or taxis alternatively. We see that as a behavior in our app. And when I'm referring to the mobility market, I'm referring to the aggregated one. Mm-hmm. My personal estimation is that by the end of next year, the Romanian app-hailing transportation will be around 1 billion euros, hopefully close to it.
That's total revenue of
total GMV, total value of tours in one year, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
And how much do you think is that out of the total taxi market in Romania?
Well, that's just the point. I mean, the market grew substantially since a few years ago. Of course, the number of taxis is limited. Through the optimization that we brought,
Right, you expanded that market.
Expanded the market, but then ride-sharing expanded even more. I mean, there's not exact numbers, but ride-sharing drivers are more than taxi drivers at this point. That's one estimation. So I would argue that the market more than doubled than it was a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago. I always say that we had a couple of advantages in building this company and in this industry and selling it. One was we were fortunate enough to have a country with very shitty public transportation, which means that people use taxis a lot and it's cheap, and they use it as basically public transit. That's not something that's not the behavior you would see in other markets, not even in Hungary. Taxis are usually more expensive and then do less tours. So lack of infrastructure actually helped us, and I think that also puts us in a pole position, for example, for the upcoming autonomous cars, because if you have a very mass market adoption of app-based transportation, then it makes sense to have an optimization through autonomous cars. And the second one would be that Romania is often ignored from a business perspective. And when we had our first interactions with MyTaxi, and they saw our numbers, they were like, the fuck? There's a simple explanation, which is the shitty transportation one, but our KPIs in Romania are probably the best in Europe per capita, at least, in terms of number of tours. Not GMV as well, but still number of tours.
Okay. Can we get maybe a couple of questions from the audience? Cesar?
Hello. I use my taxi in several European countries. And I think in all the countries, it's similar to Uber as service, like you pay by card, and this is something you see like everywhere in the West. Is this available in Romania, or do you see people going towards this, or it's like always going to be just an app for booking taxi, or you'll also incorporate payments?
So we have card payments in the app, but you're right that that's not something that the market is used to. People prefer to pay cash. Drivers definitely prefer to accept cash. So one of the biggest fights the company has had for the past year was actually changing this mindset, which is, I think it's even more difficult than it was actually launching the initial app. Right now there's a lot of card payments through the app happening, so it's definitely going the right direction. But paying by card for taxis is not something that our society was used to, and it's not an easy shift. And it's interesting, as a side note, in Germany, everybody pays taxis by card, but if you go to the restaurant, nobody wants to accept card. It's they were always very surprised that in Romania you can pay anything by card ever, even a small shop, while in Germany you can't. But then taxis are the other way around. But now, yeah, you can pay by card, and I think there's a lot of discounts right now happening. So,
but would this be? Is it an additional revenue stream for you?
It is an additional revenue stream as well, yes. But the main focus is to provide, let's say, good enough service compared to competition for people to use it.
Any questions? One over there, one over here. Ladies first.
Hey, I have a question regarding that initial database that you had with the taxis around the world. Where did you get that? That's the first question. And the second one, what kind of content did you build to get them that 25% click-through rate? Because that's impressive. So.
Yeah, so that database was initially scraped off the internet. That wasn't a surprise, right? So we had something like 25,000 companies in the database all over the world. Company numbers, dispatch numbers, and everything. So the content that we built was an email that sort of there were several emails, right? That sort of were before the product. We told them that we have this kind of product and we are planning to release it soon. So we wanted to test exactly how many companies were interested, and we got that huge response from them.
Yeah, two small things, maybe interesting facts about this approach, which I think was very useful to us. That actually meant that when we launched, we still had a lot of users in Romania, so it was heavily used in the first year or so. Even with a lot of users in Romania, in Google Analytics, we would have 15% of users still in the US. Because you would open up the app and it would just give you phone numbers of any place in the world where you are locally. So it actually had a lot of user base in the US without actually having a hailing a long time ago. Not a lot of Uber, I suppose. And we also were, I think we were the official app for Oman, as recommended by the government for traveling and using taxis in Oman. Just random stuff. We never talked to anybody there. Just happened. They just found that they saw it was working, and so yeah.
It turned out that the phone numbers were good. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Eugene. Thank you for this. So I have sort of two questions. First is, why did you stay after the exit? Was it part of the contract, or you believe that you can bring more value to the technology, to the company? And second, I spent some time in Estonia, and usually there people after exit go and invest in other startups. Do you yourself see yourself as becoming business angels in other Romanian startups? Thank you.
It's common, if not mandatory, after exits to have a minimal period for transition, right? But I mean, you still want to be there because you didn't just build something and just want to see it thrown away. It's your baby and you want to see it grow. And on top of that, I actually left the company a month ago, but it was more than a year now that I stayed in. It was a fascinating process for me to see the transition from a startup basically to corporate life, because my taxi is Daimler and then there's a lot of corporate stuff. And that transition was fascinating to me to see the company move from, get more procedures and stuff in place. And personally, I invested in one company up to now, but I'm a mentor and advisor in several others, and will probably invest in a couple in the next few months as well.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time, guys. Congratulations once again for what turned out to be a very successful story. I'm very happy for you, and very happy that we have more millionaires in the tech ecosystem. Hopefully, that's something that will grow over time even more. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.